Sarah had finished up and sort of, I think you got it on email from Sarah, and that's all in and everything's taken care of as far as the county.
Yeah, from our end. I know talking to other people, there's still a couple of communities that are still out. And the understanding is that once all the communities that were at the meeting submit their summaries, then those will be forwarded on to the Army Corps, and Harlan's office will set up a meeting for the assigned committee members, whoever was volunteered through your communities to do that. So I know people have been volunteered, people have been appointed. And I've not seen a formal list of that, so I don't know who's keeping track, who those are.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you where the meeting's at, because I'm.
Right now, there's not. They're waiting to still get a couple of the summaries back. I still have the city of Washington, because it's in review with their council right now, so.
Okay.
But yeah, it's been submitted, and I have a hard copy of it.
Okay, thanks, Sarah.
Is anyone here from Studio 7? Nope. Is there, did
I
any?
called.
Is there, I called DEP.
Bob Wood, he won't return calls now.
The DEP won't return
Dave
mine.
Wood, he won't return calls.
And DEP won't return mine.
No.
So I told them the fence to come down.
No one.
Anyway, a point of clarification, I was wrong on this, but you can go into the streams within 50 feet of your drain.
Wherever their outlet is.
I mean, and dredge.
Dredge it.
And the gentleman from the DEP that did the countywide symposium or whatever confirmed that.
Yeah,
Right.
I was always under the impression you can't touch your toe in the water without a permit. But if it's your stormwater drain, you can dredge 50 feet.
No, I called Mr. Wood and kind of left a voicemail, and I never got returned. He didn't even call from DEP. And that's where it is. And that's the whole situation.
All right.
With that fence.
Yep.
That's
it.
all I have.
All right. Okay, we're down now. Public comment on non-agenda items. Do you have any public comment? Yes, sir. Please stand, state your name, and you have 4 minutes.
I'm Oliver, Canyon Drive, off of Ridgewood. These are our roads, and this is a problem that's been going on. They put in drainage on the sides of the road. We've had mudslides, landslides.
Well, yeah, you had, I saw
And so
that.
the water's flowing out of not down the drain and flowing down.
Bob was up there.
I think that's caused more trouble, but the road's getting to where we have a hard time even driving up and down, and we want it taken care of. But this West Canyon Road on the other side, it was paved last year, I believe.
No, it looks like it. No, that's on the other side.
Okay.
Well, what happened, yeah, slip.
Yeah, they're huge. Drop offs, and
What's this?
I think that's part of the road going up. It just holds water, and I have to go around. I'm like on the edge of the cliff there, trying to go around it. And the problem is where the mudslides, a couple of mudslides last year.
One
One of them, but there's two more on the side. There's two more mudslides on the side, and the water that's like causing bigger problems. So, and it made the road a lot worse this winter. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I was told it wasn't put on the agenda. Yeah. All right, thanks.
Ron, one thing I had real quick, I need to call for an executive session.
Yeah.
I think you were gonna do that anyway,
Yeah.
to discuss the road department
Right after.
hours and also, situational agreement.
Yeah, okay. Anyone else? Let me go. Yeah. Station name, go ahead.
Lisa Quinn, Sylvan Drive. I hope you're aware that they're working on number 4 dam on the spillway.
Yeah.
They are pumping water out of the dam, so it's coming over the spillway, creek is up. So do you have a contingency plan in place if we are to get a lot of rain to have them stop pumping the water out to let the creek do its natural flow? Is there a plan in place? Do you have contacts with Paris Construction, say, hey,
We have contacts with them.
you know,
Yeah.
that's something
That's a
you're
good
gonna
point.
do.
That's a good point.
Well, it makes sense, you know, the creek's gonna flood, and they're adding the water to it.
Yeah, they're starting that spillway.
They're pumping the water out now, so.
We need to put them on a written notice of our concern and develop a contingency plan, like Lisa suggested.
Thanks.
But put it in writing.
Good idea.
Okay. Yes, state your name.
Glenn Vogel, McElroy Road. I'd like to talk about the condition of McElroy Road. I'm talking between Green Hill Drive and Scenic Drive. It sounds as if you have some type of work in mind to bring it back up to standards. However, what I'd like to address is the numerous areas where the water is flowing onto the road. A couple of years ago, I talked to the board about this issue, and in fact, Silvio and I went down and talked to the road crew because he invited me to meet with them. My suggestion was to do some type of drainage, ditching, whatever, along the edge of the road. Well, nothing has happened. And I know that we have our road crew driving around. I see them, I don't know if it's a daily basis or not, but, you know, we've all seen the commercial on television where you have an officer who's in a bank and there's a holdup and the guy says, somebody says, you have to do something. He says, no, I'm a security monitor. And I just want to make sure that we don't have our road crew as monitors only. But I'd like to offer a suggestion that there are some areas that could be very simply fixed with a shovel and digging some ditches to direct this water to keep it off of the road. Because water is a very powerful thing. We've all found that out. And anytime that we continue to allow that water to flow across the road, it's going to continue to deteriorate the condition of the road. I know I take actions on my own property because there is water flowing across the road coming onto my property, and I have ditched along the edge of my property to keep it there. But at the same time, I've gone across the road. There's a culvert that when we get big gully washers, it covers up that culvert with stone. I go across the road and I clean that culvert off myself. And really, this is something that the road crew should be doing. If we get a big storm like that, they should be finding out where the issues are and repairing them, so that we don't continue to have water flowing across. In fact, you can see a lot of the areas on McElroy Road where the water has flowed across there, the freeze and thaw has continued, and that surface has deteriorated. So I'm just offering a simple solution. We have the people that are being hired to do work. I don't know if they are being given direction to do that type of work, but that to me seems like it would be a very simple solution.
Glenn, a couple things. Number one, I happened to be up on McElroy last week, and from the lower dip all the way down to Scenic, it is atrocious. You don't have to worry about speeding, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. But when I got down to the end of Scenic, I got out of my car to look at the creek because it had rained a lot. And I noticed there were big stump logs laying in the creek. So I called Bill Pettit myself. I said, Bill, we got it. They're ready to go into the pipe. So he got those out today. He called me today and said, we got them out. So they did clean out a part there by Scenic and McElroy where there were big problems right there in the creek. Okay, those are the kind of things they ought to be doing. The second thing that occurred was I happened to, I won't say, I happened to go up to the feed store, Mike's feed store, and Joe Carnes was there. Okay, well, that became a 1-hour conversation. And tell me if he's wrong here, but what he explained to me was the upper end of Green Hill, the reason why, the upper end of McElroy, the reason why it holds together better is because there was a lot of drainage work done on that road, on McElroy, on that upper end. Whereas opposed to the other end, which is all falling apart, he says, you can chip it, you could do whatever you want, but until you do the proper drainage on that road, it is just a waste of money. So I don't know what the plans were of here in the spring with Rich Rush and what we were doing on there, but that was his comment, and I don't know if they're legitimate or not, because I don't really know. That's not my area of expertise.
Well, that's Rich, I've talked with about
We're gonna have to prioritize
That's
Mackley.
Macri, it's a bad shape. I agree with you. I don't have a problem with it. Problem with Macri is there's no base. That's what Rich and Vince but the drainage system, what Glenn's talking about, yeah.
Well, when the township took the state over, I think, took it over from the state, they came through and they did a very heavy surface at that time. It was a chip and seal, but it was a different type of seal, and that has held up fairly well. But like I said, the drainage, I think, is probably your main culprit here.
No, I agree with you.
The township took over the
It used to be a state
Macri.
road, and I'm going back 20 years or 15 years or whatever, but yes, it was a state road.
I thought you said scenic. Scenic's still state.
Yeah, scenic is state.
Well, Joe talked about a double chip, double seal, and Sarah, you might
Well-
understand what that means. I don't, but he says that's what worked up on the top end. So
And
I heard it all, I passed it on.
As a matter
That's
of
it.
fact, Joe Carnes down in front of his property, he went out there with his machine and cleaned out some of the ditching there too, because it was flowing. So,
It's bad.
you know, it is an issue. Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn.
Nice.
Okay, Vivian. Yes,
Heather Glasser, Green Hill Drive. As you know, I submitted before last supervisors meeting 3 issues on Green Hill, and I've tried to get a response from anybody. I've not gotten any from Township supervisors. I've emailed everybody. Rich Ross was apparently up there. It was my understanding he was going to give a report today on that. So I'm just wondering if there's...
Well, the thing is, on Green, there's 2 things. The slip is definitely,
Yeah.
we gotta take care of that. That's
Yeah.
no problem.
That's gonna get addressed.
And that's been addressed. We talked about that already.
Okay.
That's gonna be one of our key things on that. The other thing, I talked to Bill, in dealing with, I guess, years ago, water was coming from Webb down across, and he put a...
Yeah, I've been working with him for about 8 years trying to...
Well, he
I'm
did
a...
that.
Yeah,
he
he did.
fixed that, right? Correct? 'Cause
Yeah,
that's what he
he's-
told me.
yeah.
He made that dam there, and that's the thing that I was talking about with him. I questioned him.
There are a few things, which one, I know Sarah has been out to my property. I had her come
Yeah.
out, and so she's got, I feel real positive, hopeful about that. It's about the storm drain issue that it's just, but the second one broke open that I don't know if it's been clogged for 10 years, but it is just tearing up my hillside. But there's another issue up there right now, which Jared, did you get direction to go and check on the, so there's been no direction to check on a code complaint with, there's been a sort of a dam affixed on the side of the road. It's making the water go into the road. I believe Rich went up to look at that. You told me he was going to be talking about it at this meeting, so I'm just wondering.
Rich couldn't make it. Sarah came.
I didn't see her up there, but I saw somebody up there.
Rich did go up there. I talked about it with him. He was up at your property, and I do know that he's talked with maybe the road crew about the possibilities of what could be done, but it's up to the supervisors to make a decision.
It's a right-of-way deal or what, Sarah?
He said that he believes it's in the right of way, so it's up to you if you want to take it out or not.
Okay.
Okay? Okay, thank you. Oh, and I just want to say one more thing. What a positive meeting this was. It's great to see everybody talking civilly and getting along.
Yeah, me too.
There's so
I'm
much
glad- I'm glad
contention.
to-
There's so much contention that goes on, but I think everybody really everybody wants their problem solved. It can't always be solved the way you want it to, but just to talk about it is helpful. So.
Which reminds me, Martha and I talked about the newsletter. She's turned the newsletter operation over to me. I need, by next meeting, anything from the newsletter from police, fire, and everything submitted to me. that together. And anything else, anyone else who has a suggestion of what they would like to see in that newsletter, please get in touch with me.
Yes. State your name.
Kathleen Graff from Ramsey Road. In conjunction with what you just said, in that newsletter, does that go to all the residents in this country? Okay. Are you also going to include in here this new ordinance that you are trying to pass regarding vehicles? It will be certainly something of a shock if people in East Point, Sycamore Reserve, and of course on our street, would suddenly have commercial vehicles in their area. And that's what we are facing, and that's why we are suing you people, because this has been going on for 4 years. And now you have something to cover up what's been going on for 4 years. And the people, not only us, if you allow this in one place for the one person, then what are the people in these other areas going to think when they suddenly have all these vehicles, possibly, and that might be down the line, in their view or in their yards or their neighbors' yards? I think everybody in the township should have a copy of this.
You will. The draft ordinance will be available for public inspection prior to the scheduled public hearing that the law requires be held before this becomes final.
Now, wait a minute. Are you saying this is going to go to the homes, or do they have to come and look at it?
It will be available on the website.
Okay.
It's going to be part of an 80-page ordinance. It's not going to be a standalone. It's the entire ordinance that's being compiled.
Right. But what I'm saying is, in this newsletter that you are going to send, some definitions have to be given, some information has to be given to people so they know exactly what's going to happen. Because when I look at this, I can look at...
There'll be more than adequate notice. I mean, and advertising already has occurred. The draft has been reviewed by you, and this board, 2-1, voted to advertise it as a pending ordinance. So the process has begun.
I understand that. But how many people look... Are you talking about the newspaper publication? Mm-hmm. How many people actually look at that? I never read that.
Well, are you suggesting that this entire ordinance be sent to 2,000 households?
No, I'm saying, well, this, this one, this is very pertinent.
Well, that's the reason for putting it on the website, that everybody has access to all the ordinances in this township, including the zoning ordinance.
Let me just intervene in this one a little bit. Since I voted against this, let me explain how I understand the process works. Anytime the township does an ordinance, so for instance, we'll go back to the burning ordinance, we advertised it. Once we advertise it, it is up to the residents of this township to come to this meeting and say, yep, we're for it, or overwhelmingly we're against it. And if not enough people show up and they don't want to comment until after the fact, then it's too late.
And it's always available for inspection at the township offices, the entire draft.
Unfortunately, the only thing that the township is required to do is we're supposed to do the ordinance, we're supposed to
Advertise.
vote on it, we're supposed to advertise
And
it,
make it available
and
for
make a
public
final
inspection.
vote on it.
And make it available for public inspection.
That's how
But you just voted on it and it wasn't even on the agenda. You threw it in. How are people supposed to know to come to have a voice?
Well, it wasn't a final ordinance. It was voted to advertise and make it part of the draft that our planning commission
Today,
and our
that's what you
consultant are working on. That's not going to happen until May or June. The final hearing won't be until May or June, because the final draft is not
on
done.
what she's talking about. That won't be
Yeah, it's
until
not done
May.
yet.
It's not done.
I was talking about the burn ordinance, but I didn't mean to get confusing, but like you just voted on it today, but no one knew it was going to be talked about at the meeting.
It's in the minutes from last month.
Yeah, well, it was advertised.
It's advertised.
That's
I
why
thought it had to
was
be on the
surprised it
agenda.
wasn't on the agenda.
I mean, that's why I recommended put it on the
Right,
agenda.
right.
Because it wasn't on.
Because it wasn't. And plus, you can't get the agenda until last minute, so people, how are they supposed to know? Yeah, anyway.
Well,
newsletter. That'll help.
On that item, Mr. Chairman, I would suggest again, and to Martha too, and this is not really her fault, it's everybody throwing things at the last second in. This
We had a lot.
township set a policy at the beginning of the year that we were gonna have the agenda out at noon the day before the meeting. And we need to make sure we do that, all of us. The solicitor, code enforcement, police, fire,
Get your
and
stuff
get it to
in.
her.
Yeah.
She needs to send that that agenda, and she needs to have it available for the public at noon the day before. So it was definitely late this time, so I concur with that, and that does cause a problem.
Question, are the.
Hold on.
Are the things on the website now, the zoning,
No,
additions on there? Okay, they are not.
They're gonna be loaded.
they'll be loaded. That's what we're doing.
Yeah,
Could you stand up, please?
Yeah, I just had a quick question concerning the voting. So if there's an ordinance that needed to be voted on and the community showed up and was completely against
What's
something.
conversation, yeah, it's.
Yeah, well, but the community doesn't have a vote, you know what I mean? We could be
No.
totally against something, but our voice is just that we really don't carry a vote. So, as supervisors, you can vote anyway, that doesn't necessarily carry the conscience of the community. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
Okay, I was just so there's 3 voting members that carry the conscience of the township, not necessarily the community.
My answer to you on that is yes and no. A, you elect us to make the decision, but B, if there's overwhelming support or opposition to anything in this township, and people show up and ask to say that, it certainly would influence the board, it certainly would influence me.
Sure.
So.
I was just kind
yeah.
of curious how that process
It's like
worked,
anything.
that's all. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have anything?
Has the date been scheduled for this public hearing about that?
No, ma'am, no. Okay, I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to go into
Executive session, yes.
Moved.
Second.
I still.
All in favor of that? Okay.
You didn't tell everybody that.